the hockey stick 6 feet between yourself and other people. And then you make sure when you get home that you wash your hands and use hand sanitizer and cough into your sleeve. But the very bottom line is we must stay at home. And if you have been away out of the country in the last while and are symptomatic, then it needs to be complete isolation. And that means not leaving your home. For everyone else, you may leave your home, but only when absolutely necessary. It is essential that we control the spread of this virus and that we flatten the curve. It's a matter of personal safety, it's a matter of community safety, and as we are now beginning to see across our country, it is becoming a matter of life and death. It is that simple. Stay at home. Collingwood is a strong, compassionate community. We are resilient. We have faced these types of threats in the past. We have faced world wars, we have faced the Depression, and we faced the closure of our main industry in 1986. And on every occasion we have prevailed. And I have no doubt we will prevail again. And we will prevail because we are a community that cares about each other, a community that is responsible, and a community that works together. And I have seen that demonstrated to me over the last 2 weeks. I have been contacted by our service clubs who want to know how they can help. I have been contacted by residents with suggestions and ideas of how we can protect ourselves and how we can serve our neighbors by either delivering groceries or doing errands for those that are in self-isolation or are vulnerable. I have seen it from local businesses that have retooled to make hand sanitizer, who have provided glass partitions to the hospital for temporary facilities, who have retooled to make surgical masks, who have retooled to make face masks. These are all acts of incredible heroism, in my opinion, and selflessness, and they define our community, and it is those type of acts that will draw this community together and will help us through this crisis. We are a community that will prevail, and I am encouraging everybody to do the simple thing, to stay home, to stay healthy, and to stay safe. Thank you very much. And I'll now look to Detachment Commander Mary Shannon.
So good afternoon. On behalf of the Ontario Provincial Police, I just want to reassure the residents of Collingwood and the Blue Mountain that our police service is out in full force looking after both of our communities during these unprecedented times. If I can echo any message, it is to please take the message as it refers to the emergency order, and please, people, stay at home. We have not reached the peak yet with regards to people that have been infected, and it's critical at this stage to really minimize our contacts and to really only go out for what is absolutely essential for any interactions. With regards to OPP response, please only use the 911 if you're calling to report an emergency. For any reports of violations of self-isolation or congregations of groups larger than 5, please use the 1-888-310-1122 to report such infractions, and our officers, with the engagement of bylaw, will follow up calls of this nature. I ask that you respect our officers. These are difficult times. Our officers have families to return home to, so we want to minimize their contacts day in and day out when they are in our communities to serve and to protect. So please, again, respect the self-isolation and only go out when it is absolutely essential. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Again, trying to say what the mayor said, stay at home. If you have to go out, practice physical distancing. I know some people call it social distancing, but maintain that 6 feet between everybody. As far as the Collingwood Fire Department, it's business as usual. We're there to help anytime you're needed or needed us. And same practices, call 911, or there is the office line which people are used to phoning. If we arrive at your house and we ask a few questions, please be honest with the firefighters. This way we can assist you in the best and timely manner in protecting our staff. Again, I say it again, please stay at home. Thank you.
We're now open for questions.
So there's a meeting on Wednesday in Collingwood for residents affected further measures.
Yes, we're looking at primarily one of the main things on the agenda will be the Economic Recovery and Support Task Force. We're looking at naming the members of that task force, getting the terms of reference approved so that that committee can get working. We are looking at ways that we can assist the public in the immediate future as we look at the federal and provincial packages. While they're ambitious and that they will hopefully serve the needs they're directed to service, there's going to be an implementation period. And so the issue is, are further steps needed at this ground level in our municipality to assist those that are in need while these other higher level government packages are being unfolded?
For Mary, if you want to...
Yep, absolutely.
Because there has been talk about the plumbing police, plumbing bylaw, and basically how do you balance that between maintaining, keeping public safe and not having this turn into a snitch line?
Right, so we've got a tiered response. We've been actively engaged with our bylaw partners, and this really is a collaborative approach, and we're looking at a tiered response. So quite honestly, our first point of contact, we're absolutely looking to educate, and I can say to date that preliminary approach has heeded the response that we've been looking for. So for the most part, when we share the reason and rationale for the legislation, we see compliance. We have not had to elevate it beyond that level, but we're having regular engagements with both of our municipalities, with their bylaw officers, to make sure that our response is adequate and that we are seeing the measures that we hope for. I don't have an exact number, but if you give me a shout, I can get them for you.
If I could just add to what the inspector said, our bylaw and staff have been working very hard. The playgrounds are fenced off, physically fenced off. The skate park is physically fenced off. We have locked the dog parks. The trails are open, and if people use the trails, we ask that they practice safe social or physical distancing. And we will probably be putting in place other measures to fence off benches and tables, picnic benches, because it's just so critical that people stay at home, and when they're out, they need to respect the proper social distancing to control the spread of this disease.
Has there been any discussion with the school boards with them fencing off any of their playgrounds?
Not that.
I have noticed that their playgrounds continue to be open.
Yes, I had a call this morning, so I think that's something that staff is looking into, and I'd have to follow up on that.
Has bylaw dealt with any non-essential business openings?
We have, and as this essential services list rolls out, there are categories that continue to evolve. So, for example, there's a furniture store in Collingwood that's closed as non-essential, but in Clearview Township, there's a furniture store that's open because they repair appliances, and that's deemed an essential service. So while it may, on the face of it, look as if there's a contradiction or inconsistency there, there is in fact a basis for it, and as our bylaw officers work through that, we uncover or discover those various essential tasks. All right, thanks very much, everyone.
Due to the length of the preceding program, we now join the regularly scheduled program already in progress.
audio is bar none one of the best. Dude, I can sit back, so I turned on the game and I'm right there at the very beginning screen. I'm waiting to hit the start button and I just sat there for 5 minutes listening to the opening screen.
Oh man.
Like it is so good. I love the score. I don't buy soundtracks. This is one.
Wow, man, I'm right there with you though, because with the beautiful setting that they've created, this music every time, all the time, even when it gets a little dark and you have to maybe do that boss fight or whatever,
Yeah.
the music, everything just like perfect.
Yeah, it's so good. Now here's one of the problems I had. So you pause the game, right? You and I were talking about this off screen. You pause the game, it says hit X
To resume.
to resume. You don't hit X, you hit A.
Yeah, you can't even hit B.
Nope. It is A. So there's one little minor thing. The other thing that kind of got me was you start off this game with no abilities whatsoever. So by the time you finish Ori and the Blind Forest, dude, you're like,
fully equipped.
You're completely equipped. So I'm starting from scratch all over again, and that kind of was like, I got nothing. Like I don't even have double jump when you get started. So I was kind of like,
I didn't have that disconnect because I didn't play the first one, so that would be a little odd. Where did his abilities go?
well, that's okay. That's what I mean, right? So why do I just suddenly start from scratch? I finished the other one, had all these abilities, all these talents and things that I wanted. I knew going forward, and then to jump in, and I had nothing. I was completely stripped. No backstory as to why. And there was just nothing there. So I was kind of like, crap, man. Like I don't even have a simple double jump. And then as you progress through the game, obviously you get all these abilities.
Doesn't take too long, but
It doesn't. It was still just a little weird disconnect. But the game is set up so that you go back to other areas, like that Metrovania kind of thing, right? So that Metroidvania was you go back and forth between the levels because there's certain parts that you can't encounter because you don't have that ability yet.
And I find that not frustrating because of the game's fault, but it's just me. I like to really thoroughly search everywhere.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm like, oh, when can I come back to this?
Yeah.
Or like, I'll forget about it. I don't remember. And
Then
so,
you pull up the map and you see a gray part and you're like, oh, I gotta get back over there. And sometimes the problem is you're way on the other side and you need to go all the way back to the other side.
And there's no fast travel.
There is a fast travel. So you get your little shrines, and as you save the game, that allows you to jump between
How did I
levels.
never notice that I could
don't
jump
know how
between
you missed
shrines, man?
So you jump between these things, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I'm going back. And typically for me, all I want to do is move forward. So for these kind of games, it's just kind of one of those things. It's a style of game, so I get it, and I appreciate it, but it's not really for me. But this game overall, I absolutely love.
Yes, man.
So Nate, as we said, this is a review in progress because we're waiting on that day one patch. We are several hours in the game, not completed the game
Yes.
yet. So at 5 hours in, I'm 30% through the game.
Wow.
So I still got to get through the rest of the game because we got our reviews a little later than we normally do. So it is what it is, but I wanted to kind of get in on the game and see how this part right now, how we kind of feel when we come back to it next week when we review the final version of our review. But we've had some issues. How do you feel so far?
Mostly good, but they really do need to fix the frame rate issues because
Yeah, I know.
when you're platforming and jumping, it ultimately takes away from the experience to the point where I can't sometimes complete things almost.
Yeah.
It's that hard where it's that jaggy.
See?
So I'm gonna have to give it a 6.5. This game will be significantly better, but it's honestly that bad, man.
Wow, that's because you're on the S, as you said, right?
Yeah.
So I'm on the X. I had a couple issues here or there, so if they can get that polished, but everything else is there. The audio, the visuals are absolutely stunning. The gameplay mechanics, the abilities. Though I didn't get them at the beginning, still came along as I progressed, and it's right there. And I'm getting back to that feel of, man, there's so much to do and explore. Absolutely love what I'm into. So far, I'm in there with a 9.
Awesome.
Absolutely beautiful visuals and an outstanding score makes Ori and the Will of the Wisps one game to watch for. Hopefully Moon Studios can fix that optimization. Scott, we're jumping into some of our favorite stuff, buddy. Stealth and VR.
And we're it.
Scott, you and I put on the Oculus headset because we checked out Covert. This is a stealth puzzle game. What'd you think of this one?
This one's really cool. I like how this is a co-op, kind of asymmetrical VR, well, co-op game.
Yeah.
I've seen other ones kind of similar like this. Somebody's
Sure.
on the mobile, somebody's on the headset, but it was a competitive one. So I like the idea that I can work with somebody now.
That is honestly is one of the best parts about the game, but also one of the worst parts about the game, because if you don't have your co-op partner with you to help you out on the phone, you can't really play the game without
Yeah,
it.
that is it. You're just left out of luck.
So, okay, let's get into the game. Basically what's going on is you are a hired thief, you and your partner, to go out and do these heists and kind of break someone free a little higher up within the organization. And you're trying to work together and solve all these puzzles and sneak your way through. Dude, some of the environments in this game were awesome. Like starting out in a museum, and then there's just a jailbreak. There's like all kinds of crazy cool stuff, and you're like missile launching and things. Dude, I had a blast.
Yeah, you have a ton of these different gadgets, so you can kind of zip line yourself around or highlight things for the your hacker to control and kind of set up for you. And you work your way through these rooms, and I really like how when you meet the secret society kind of thing, they allude to the fact that they've been around forever, and they kind of there's like lots of history, little threads weaved through there. I like this how the game tells the story, even in the kind of hub thing that you return to. That little shop. I like the character there.
She's cool.
Yeah, she's really cool, and I like how it's just a quick loading kind of game. It doesn't seem to be too kind of heavy on my system.
No, not at all.
I didn't have too much problem with the mobile either. So the mobile aspect of it, I've kind of come to expect there'll be some kinks with that.
Yeah.
But I only found one. I found one kink.
All right, what do you got?
Well, in one level, I was trying to move a block through into the next room to block off some lasers, but it just did not accept on the mobile that the door was open. Even though I could see it in virtual reality, I'm standing right there, I could walk through it.
Really, eh?
But yeah, I had that one, and looking at this game, I've heard similar things, sort of. There's some kind of bugs that pop up.
Yeah.
You just have to restart your level, and it'll work itself out.
I never experienced that issue. The biggest issue I had is you have to sync with your co-op partner the press of a button. So you have to time yourself. So you'll have these detonation things you gotta kind of sync up for one particular mission that we're working on. And you have to push a button, but so does your co-op partner at the same time. And as Crystal's hitting the button, I'm hitting the button. And then, okay, and here's the other part that I found was kind of a little off for me. In order to hit the button, in most VR games, it's the head of a button, so you reach out and you push the button,
You
right?
just push it with your hand. Yeah.
Here, we actually have to pull the triggers, and then it activates, and then sends your hand out, and then pushes on the button. So between her hammering on the phone, and then me pushing, like clicking my button, then the hand would come out, like the timing was just
Yeah,
off.
just
it'd be
a little bit.
Clink, miss, clink, miss, clink, miss, ding! I was just like, really? Okay, that part, like, I want to be able to push the button. I'm in VR. The whole idea of being in VR is that you're way more immersed typically than you would in a normal game. So the ability it's just common sense that relays to yourself, oh, button, push it. Like, you know,
And
reach
I
out
tried
and
to do
push.
that many times. Yeah, that's of course we first try that. VR has been around for a while, and these are the things we kind of expect with.
Kind of, yeah. I was used to that, right?
Yeah, it was a disconnect to kind of just run a procedure. It was like an animation starts.
Yeah.
Trigger. I don't really like that. too
Every
much,
button is the same way. That it's all like an activation. It's almost like if you're holding the controller and then you hit the X button or the A button, depending on whatever system you're on, right? And then that would go and kind of relay the information that you've hit the trigger. Now in VR, it enables us to go and just reach out your hand and push that button. So I was kind of anticipating that. So when I stood there for 5 minutes going, like, why isn't it?
How?
And then because you'd be up against it, it would push me back. And I was like,
Yeah, I did have that.
I
That
don't
was
get
a
what's
little
going
weird.
on. Why? I'm just trying to reach the button. And then I clicked I'm like, oh, man.
Okay. Yeah,
really?
they might have done a little bit better at telling us how to interact with some of the items.
Yeah,
'cause
that was the biggest part.
A lot of the time it ends up being right trigger, and it's just a kind of an aim thing, but I don't think it told us that very well.
No, it didn't. But honestly, that was the biggest takeaway from this game that was really effective that I didn't like. But the rest of the game, like from the character, the art style, the heists we're pulling off, and the gadgets and everything else. I had a great time playing this game.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. And my biggest thing when it comes to playing VR is how do we move within the game? And the minute I saw we were actually walking, I went, oh.
Yeah, it's a little.
But it was slow enough that I didn't get that motion sickness that I would normally get. Because a lot of games, you're kind of like barreling through, and then they tunnel your vision. In here, because you're so almost like sluggish in a sense, but I appreciate that because you are being stealthy and you're sneaking. But sometimes I'm sneaking up behind guards and trying to creep around them. And at the same time, I'm
you
going,
have to try and limit your
I'm really
sound.
slow. So maybe I'm gonna get caught here, but maybe I won't. And then you're zip lining from one place to another. The zip line can be a little.
They kind of shrink the thing there. Yeah,
can.
but it can get you in the motion.
If you're a little sensitive to that stuff, be a little wary of that. But besides that, actually moving throughout the game I thought was fantastic. I didn't get sick whatsoever, and I was in there. First time I put it on, man, I was there for hours. I had a great time. Scott, one of the coolest aspects of the game as well is the artwork. I'm always kind of drawn into this Pixar, Fortnite kind of feel. And that's kind of where they really took this game, I thought.
Yeah, it didn't bother me though. The fact that it's in VR but still cartoony, I'm okay with that, especially in some. I've seen it work out really well.
Yep.
And this was one of those.
Absolutely. And this is some of the team too behind the God of War series. So they know video games, man. And when we jumped in, I thought it was smooth, it was fluid, and everything just worked the way I wanted it to, except for the fact I couldn't push my button.
Yeah, just a little bit of a disconnect.
That was it.
Hey, who calls them dogs? We're not really starting the long sequence. Francis?
All in all, Scott, you and I had a great time. What are you scoring Covert?
Well, I had a pretty good time, like you said, except it caused a couple little arguments here and there. That's what happens when you have to play a co-op game. But
sometimes.
It's not too bad. I had a really good time with this, and I would like to see sequels. I want to see more of this kind of game. I want to see people do this kind of peripheral thing on the side. I think that's great. So I'm going to give this one an 8.5. I'm really impressed with this one.
Yeah, you know what? I'm right there with you. I thought it was awesome. Co-op experience worked really well for me. 8.5 as well. A stealth VR title is just what we wanted, and with great co-op. We just wish we could push that button ourselves.
No, get out of there.
Scott, do you hear that sound? It's the winds of change. All right, Scott, cringeworthy intro aside, we got into Winds of Change, and it is definitely a change from what we're normally used to playing.
That's one way to put it, yeah. So this is a point-and-click kind of adventure story game, but it's very light on the point and clicking and very heavy on the story game.
Yes, very, very heavy.
So getting into the kind of bits of this game, it's a fantasy, and it's a very well kind of thought out character drama between a bunch of different characters in this fantasy world.
Yeah.
And the locations and stuff that you kind of go through are definitely kind of a standout to me. So I kind of want to hit on some of the things that I liked about this game.
Yeah, that's fair. The art style is definitely a good place to start with this one, I think.
Yeah, now the art style overall kind of very choosy. This is, if for all those who don't know, this is a furry kind of fiction
a lot of
story.
Yeah. Animal, humanoid type characters.
Yeah. Now, that might be kind of strange to some. I've seen a little bit of this media before, so I did try and keep an open mind and jump right into it and see where the story takes us. And the story, well, it goes and it goes.
Yeah, you know what? It is that fantasy-based story. Without giving away too much, we kind of get thrown into a scenario where we are kind of waking up and we don't know who we are exactly, but the people around us know who we personally are. And then kind of at the beginning, we're trying to discover exactly who we are, what kind of role we're playing in all this kind of, chaos that's going on around us. And it really lays in kind of this heavy tone early on when it comes to how the story's told. And it, like you said, it throws you into some of these backdrops early on. And you get an idea for how the characters are going to look throughout the game and how, the environments, or I guess I'm just going to call it the scenery, because when you change from scene to scene. It's just a backdrop that changes. There's no real moving parts or anything. Sometimes it fades into a different looking version of the same scene while things are going on, depending on how the story is unfolding. But you know what? For me, I just got caught with how slow this game felt, Scott. Like, I know there's an auto function that lets us, go through the bubbles, and I'm not clicking, but man, I was dying throughout this one.
Yeah, now very useful function. You can also, when you get presented with a section where you are meant to search through and find some backstory, you can find all these books and backstory, and they'll tell you more about the world and the conflict that's happening. But the majority of it's told through this left and right panel, back and forth conversation. Luckily, you can skip through that. You hit these search sections, you skip through that. So I find that this game was more played, I say played, it kind of played itself while I listened. And from an audiobook kind of standpoint, I kind of see where some things are going. I kind of like some of the characters, but it's just behind this wall of a specific type of media that I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to break through.
No, and I think this game is going to be very, love or hate. You're either going to totally get immersed into this story and just love it all the way through, or you're going to struggle kind of, getting a hold of the characters and just really feeling that story. If it's not your type, you're going to know within the first hour of playing this game. But at the same time, it might catch you on the way through. But for me, it was just the pacing of it that really, really slowed everything down. And the fact that going into this, I wasn't sure how interactive it was going to be. There are some dialogue choices. They say that, will change some outcomes near the end of the game as you go through, so you should be aware of the choices you are making. But again, there aren't many of them.
No.
And they are varied. It is nice. There isn't, it's not just one or two options. We've got 4 or 5 options.
That's true, yeah.
So it was kind of nice to have that variety there as well. But at the same time, I feel like all I was doing was opening and closing dialogue bubbles. And if you're not into the story, to me, it almost didn't feel worth it to keep going.
Yeah, this game's got a lot of those kind of problems where it's maybe not just, like, that's the gameplay, is by deciding how you're going to react to certain characters and kind of change the party composition up a little bit. It also gives you the option to backtrack, where you can talk to the party members, or they'll have their own kind of banter that goes along with it. So it looks like they thought about a lot of things in this game. How are they going to tell the story? Who are these characters, and how are they going to interact? For sure. And there's a lot to be said about that. Some people are really going to enjoy that aspect of it.
Oh, definitely. It's a well put together game. So it's not that this is a badly made game. It's just not maybe a game that's particularly my style. It's definitely made for somebody, and I think the art style is going to hook somebody, and the way the story is being told. We never even get to the voice acting in this game, which is a huge part because there aren't many interactive aspects. Being able to actually hear the characters' voices, and besides, the odd character that had, that kind of
somewhere a little silly,
that voice for you, maybe not hitting so well. The main character voice acting, I thought, was excellent, and overall that's really what kind of gets you into the story at first, and then it's just a matter of if the content's gonna hold you for the rest of the way.
What a pitiful little village. It's no fun when they don't put up a fight. Did you know what they did in their final moments?
All right, Scott, we've talked quite a bit about Winds of Change, a game that does a lot of talking. So if you've got to score this one, what are you going to give it?
Well, I'm going to leave the talking mostly to the game. It was played less of a game and it was more of a story. I do appreciate that they told the story very well. This is a low number, but it's a good piece of media, I think. I have to give this, as a game though, a 3.5. Unfortunately, it just did not capture me again and again.
You know what? I can kind of agree with you there, because to me this didn't really feel like a game, more like a visual audiobook or a visual novel. The voice acting was really good. I did like the art style for the most part. Not necessarily my style, but it didn't look horrible by any stretch. Yeah. But you know what? Overall, I think the game's made well enough that the people that are going to like it are going to enjoy it. But for me, it just wasn't there. I got to give this one a 5 out of 10. Voiceovers and the overall art style were done really well, but the long dialogues between actions make this one hard to stick with.
All right, Scott, it's me and you, hopefully, finding each other in this very barren, open survival wasteland. All right, right, Nate, this time we're checking out DayZ's DLC, Livonia. Now this one, just like DayZ, is, well, what did you think of this game?
All right, man. Well, it was tough, man. This game has a massive learning curve to it because unlike most survival games that I've played, which are typically pretty difficult.
And your thing, yeah.
Yeah, and it's my thing. I love survival games, but this game, it's just, you spend so much time trying to find resources and become very unsuccessful most of the time. Or when you do find some, you might just find the clip of a gun, but then never find the gun. You might just find that clip.
Yeah, so this is, you're hitting the nail on the head there, because it is a survival exploration game, but the exploration is punishing every time.
Every time.
When you start a character in this game, you get a little bit of some creative character pieces, you spawn, you drop into this world, and it is just apocalyptic. Think of 28 Days Later, but there's not even zombies around. Like, there's a few, but they're not really around.
And that's just the thing. It is so barren. There's hardly any animals. There are some that you can collect for meat, but those are just the occasional chickens that I came across. But it's just super barren. Everything is, I get it, because it's kind of the feel. It is it's a zombie apocalypse. Everything's run down and dead, but it just felt a little too empty for me.
Yeah, and some of that is the persistence server versus not persistence. In a persistence server, you stand the chance of somebody going through that area before you and kind of already swiping up all the goods. But even if you drop into like a brand new server in this game, it will punish you. You might just die a couple times before you get anything that kind of builds up a character. And it's very hard to even just stay alive, get the food that you need. When you spawn in the main game, you get one piece of food and a rag. No matter what. You get maybe some other items, but you get that no matter what. And that's designed to just kind of get you to the next town or whatever. In Livonia, you just, I think every time I spawn in the rainstorm in the middle of the dead night, totally can't see anything around, and I have to stumble my way to a building where I don't find any food. I find 2 bullets but no gun, and then I some clothing that I just will never need. So unfortunately, there's that aspect of this game where it just keeps punching you every time you try to sit down and get into it.
Oh man. So to complement this kind of, lack of ingredients and stuff to find, the inventory system is a little lackluster, but rightfully so. It's a survival game. You're meant to, if you want to drink the bottle, you have to put it physically in your hands and then sit there and drink it for 45 seconds.
Yeah, so some weird minutia of how to survive is in there. I got some dried rice and then I just ate the dried rice, but the problem was that I never added water to it, so it helped me for a second and then drastically took away all my health and food and water intake. So yeah,
there's a learning curve to a lot of the things. You'll pick up an item, and you'll be like, okay, what do I use this for? So it's just a massive learning curve.
Piece to it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole crafting system which mostly comes in later for the hardcore crafting.
Yeah, the few who stick around and can actually get enough duct tape to string together things might
build a car even
useful.
somehow.
Yeah, it can be done in this game. I know, I've seen the videos, but it's leagues ahead of anything that the Survivor starter is going to get to, unfortunately. The inventory is really rough. I had a hard time just moving stuff into my hand and then versus my pants pocket, and then moving that, or if you need to drop something and equip it, like that gets really messy. So it's things that make sense where you can't put your boots on without taking them out of your backpack. Everybody knows that, but when it comes to a game, I just want to hit Y and equip my item, That disconnect was, again, punishing, but it fits in with the game.
Yeah, and with the game at the very start, they kind of ask you, do you want to do the tutorial? And they tell you it is a very basic tutorial. They give you about 3 or 4 tips, and then they slap you in the game. So
I was lucky enough
like everything, you just have to figure it out yourself.
I was lucky enough to have somebody who was experienced at the game sit down with me and kind of guide me through the first many lives that I went through to get a kind of grip on it, but I had a hard time jumping in with a friend, and that's something that I think this game could definitely benefit from a lot. If you jump into a friend's game, you just drop somewhere on the map, and the map is actually giant. Even the DLC, it's just way too big that you would never want to walk from one side to the other.
Oh, it's insane, and you have to find a compass or a map or a street name that has a lot of characters that for most of us generally don't understand. So it's just, it's tough, man. Like that's what this game needs, in my opinion. I played Ark. That's my main staple of a survival game, and I prefer having a zone spawn. Let me spawn in the north. Let me spawn in the southeast, whatever it is, just so I can maybe play with my friends, because this would be pretty fun to try to survive with my friends, but to spend maybe up to 2 hours to try to find you, but to die doing so. It's just,
to get 2
it's
hours,
not worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, what they need is a more fleshed out multiplayer system. I like this game as a survival game, but when it comes to, jumping in with friends and stuff, I want more of a competitive edge, and I think that's kind of a lot of the feedback that they received. This company also went on to create Vigor. And that makes a lot of sense now. So if you think about Vigor and how it looks kind of like PUBG, but a little empty, and that's generally how DayZ looks, and it really, I think they kind of took a lot of the aspects that would be really good in DayZ and just kind of made their own game out of it. So I don't know if we'll ever get the kind of updates, and
hopefully maybe one day. It is an older game now, so
yeah, it's fading away, but it's so complicated, and there is still a hardcore community. You never really know what's going to come out.
Yeah. Well, Scott, if this game couldn't get any more punishing, dude, it did, because there's no, there's no beds that you can build to respawn back in. When you die, it's permadeath. You get 1 life per round. That's it. All your stuff gone. Unless, like we were saying earlier, you find a shovel, we dig somewhere that we know is on the map, and then we find it in our next playthrough.
Like, that sounds like finding a needle
in a haystack.
A big haystack. It's another aspect of this game that's just gonna beat you over the head. So Nate, you've jumped into DayZ, you've been beaten up a little bit. What do you want to score this game?
Well, after this much suffering and pain, man, this game was tough. I love survival games, but it was just a little too barren and empty for me. I'm gonna have to give this a 6. There's definitely a game that people like here, and it has a pretty big following, so I respect it, but for me, 6, man.
Yeah, I jumped in and I tried to get through it, but really, I admire this game for how it looks and how it, the premise of it more than the actual execution of it, unfortunately. I have to give that a 6 as well.
We took a dive right into Livonia. Due to difficulty, we did not survive.
Google Stadia is in the headlines again with some industry figureheads. Not really sure what's going on here, but Drew and I discussed this in today's episode.
Scott, we got some exciting news heading to Stadia because Shannon Studstill has left Sony Santa Monica and is actually heading over to Google Stadia.
Yeah, they're starting a new open location at Playa Vista.
Yeah.
And this is one, I believe this is the second one that they are opening that is in-house Stadia exclusive developers.
Which is a big get because Shannon's worked on one of the best titles. God of War ring a bell?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right? Like Game of the Year last year, 2018. That one was a huge staple, and she was a part of that. She's a part of Journey. She's got such a long list of games she's been involved in, so I can see why they snatched her up.
Yeah, this kind of goes along with the Jade Raymond and some of the other industry people that they're pulling from here and there and just kind of assembling their own team. It also follows on the heels of some weirdly unfortunate news about the games coming to Stadia and how they're maybe not as supportive. But this is kind of a different angle at solving that problem. If they can make their own games from within house, then what do they need everybody else for?
Well, problem solving in an extensive part of getting that first party, right? Yeah. That's the biggest thing where we've talked about this on the show before, is that Stadia doesn't have that first party lineup. And when they move forward now that they're building up those developers, bringing them in, I kind of feel they're almost a little too late scenario.
Yeah.
But they still, so obviously they have a vision going down the line, but when you launch the system, this is where you make or break the system right now, right? So when you remember when Xbox first launched, they kind of had a bit of a rocky get-go, but then slowly over time. But now we're on to the next like Xbox Series X. So is that like how long are we have to wait for Stadia to kind of play that catch-up when they've already launched? Basically, their best game right now on there is Guilt.
Yeah, and well, are they going to be able to compete with some of the things that are coming out in the next console edition? Like, are they really going to be able to tread water with some of these other big people in their own in-house studios? It's going to be interesting to see. And I really did enjoy Guilt. I like that they have their own in-house thing. I think they should have done that from the start.
Yeah.
It kind of follows that trend of exclusivity or early access, I should say. So
yeah,
I think too many things are coming out a year kind of pre-baked.
Well, that's just it. That's what I mean when I say they're too little, too late, because they launched it back in November, and they came up short. They had all third-party titles. They bring in Tequila Works to kind of give them that one exclusive, but it's still not enough. Tequila Works isn't owned by Google Stadia.
That's true.
So they're out on their own. They're able to kind of produce for whoever they feel like at the time, if they whatever kind of deal they kind of wander up, sort of thing. But at the same time, you need Shannon then to come in and go, okay, you know what, guys, this is what we need to do. But I feel like they should have taken her 2 years ago, not now. We're great, you know, and I'm happy for Shannon that she's gone over there, and I'm excited to see what she brings to the table and what Jade Raymond's going to bring to the table going forward with Stadia, because I'm a Stadia supporter. I'm a Stadia believer in the future of streaming tech and all that stuff. We also have Xbox with Project xCloud, right?
Yeah.
That's another staple right now. And the problem with that for Stadia is that Xbox has a huge library already on their beta setup for xCloud. More games than what Stadia has.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And well, another thing to kind of consider, if this game does come out, or if games produced by this developer, are they going to just hit Google's kind of freebies section? Are they going to be on the monthly quickly, or how are they going to kind of leverage those? It makes me think that they're sitting on something that they haven't quite told us about yet.
I'm sure they're holding something back, right? They've said they have 120 titles in development.
That sounds like a lot.
It is a lot, but okay, well, where are they? So when you reach out to them, you know what, they're really responsive on Twitter, but at the same time they go, well, we're not ready to announce it yet, right? So you kind of get this crap. Well, what do you guys have for us to pay our Stadia Pro subscription every month, right? Why am I paying for this Pro premium service and there's nothing really there that's new compared to going to Xbox or PlayStation?
Yeah, you'd have a real hard time sitting on your hands if you did have a big announcement to bring up like that. That would kind of get you into where it needs to be. And with the future being uncertain, we don't know if Stadia is gonna kind of stay around.
I don't know. So obviously, I think Shannon got some pretty good info as to why she would want to go there, coming from off of God of War, right? So, you know what?
Again, looks good, but
it looks great on paper, but I can't wait to see what Shannon does in the end. I want to see what she's going to bring to the table, and hopefully we get something sooner than later.
All right, Drew, we're back as division agents, heading all the way back to New York.
Awesome.
Analysis complete. Aaron Keener. Status: Rogue.
Nate, you and I jump back into the world of Division 2, Warlords of New York DLC. Now, I teetered off way long ago in the Division 2, got so far, and I thought I felt like I hit a wall, and I was just like, I don't feel like grinding, man. And the way the enemies at the time felt, they were like bullet sponges. Happy to say, coming back into the DLC, we're now bumped automatically to level 30, so that may play a little factor into this, but I don't feel like the enemies were how they were in the previous version of the game. Now with the DLC out, I actually felt like when I shot somebody, they're actually getting damage and then passing, right? Like they're dying off, and I was able to kind of continue on. I feel the DLC moving forward for the Division 2 was a great addition and actually pulled me right back in.
Oh man, so with the addition of 4 new enemies and a whole new map where we finally get to kind of revisit the southern side of Manhattan.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
We kind of get a couple of those touches from the first game, but still have some new, so that's awesome. But in addition to that, they have actually revamped all the armor and weapon, kind of just fixed it. Like, because like you said, when we played it, I was, impressed with Division 2. I played a lot of Division 1, grinded out too much. Thought I might get back to it with Division 2 at launch. Didn't really hook me, but my goodness, with the Warlords DLC, they have hit this game out of the park. It is refined and just perfect, man.
It's fine-tuned is what I really kind of think is gone for now. And to get back in and build my agent to where I feel like I want to pursue and specialize my character into is really, really good. And then the bad guys are still there. Like, if I go out solo, I feel like it's still the Division to me, right? So if you're not really into the Division, this might pull you in, but at the same time, it might not, because if you're going solo, it's crushing you still.
It is. So, like most games, unlike most games, this game offers this sort of call for help system.
It does,
so anytime you're in an activity, you can simply push a button or you launch a flare or whatever, and then it distresses a thing in your server or whatever, so people can just quickly hop in with you. I've hopped in with people, helped them finish their missions. I met a couple really cool people that hopped in with me and helped me out, and even expanding upon this, they actually have a whole Discord kind of thing where there are over thousands of people there on there just willing to help out newcomers, new people.
Which is cool.
It is really cool. They have a really thriving community to kind of go along with this.
Because I think if you jump in fresh, you are really lost. Because I don't feel with going with the DLC that it introduces you enough to the story, to the mechanics of the game, and how to really kind of delve in and dive deep within the game that you can with the Division 2.
Yeah, the ability to skip to level 30 is great for, your friends who already are at that point are like, hey man, pick up the game. And then, so to be able to do that, they did do a good job, but it is overwhelming.
Very.
But now, honestly, like most of these looter shooters, you do need to do some research. You can't just kind of be expected to understand how the armor and all the weapon works. But like I said, they've refined it, and it's a lot less complicated than when the game launched. It definitely is a lot more simple, but not, but still has lots of depth.
Nate, our time with the Warlords was a good time, actually.
Man.
I was quite impressed. What are you scoring this?
And so I'm completely hooked, like I said, although there's no raid right away. It's coming shortly for free. And this game, just all the rework that they've done to make this really excellent, clean looter shooter, it's getting a 9 for me, man. This DLC is great.
I'm a little bit lower just because I felt like coming back into it, I needed a little bit more guidance for me. Somebody who's not more kind of in that genre, so I needed a little bit more help. Turned to you, got that help, so I appreciate that. But at the same time, I want a little bit more from Ubisoft coming out of them to help newer players get involved in the game. I'm there with an 8.5.
Warlords of New York fixes many issues and problems that the Division has had over the years and is merely a perfect looter shooter experience. Lots of lore, cutscenes to flush out the story, a revised armor system, and tons of activities. Revisiting Manhattan has never been better.
All right, so on this week's Let's Play, me and the guys get to play Cops and Robbers in Hot Brass.
We handle the most dangerous missions. Arresting bad guys and saving lives is always our goal.
Just watch you don't peek there, Corey, when you get too close to the mic.
There's a guy there. There's a guy there. Yeah.
Police! Stop right now! Show me your hand! Police! Making it!
Oh, shoot, okay. Busted in.
Let me see your hand!
Whoa, there's two of them?
Crap.
Got one. Haha. Oh, that's just you. Man, I thought they were coming after me.
Oh no, I'm hurt.
Oh, Scott's bleeding out.
I didn't even notice the bullet hit me.
Whoa, I got another one down here.
Too much action.
Nice.
Warning shots.
Put him up. Black bang out.
Don't.
Show me your hand.
Nice, got him.
Stop. Police. On your knees. Resting down.
Oh man.
Gotta make sure he's not going anywhere.
It's true enough. How you doing, Scott?
Scott, you still alive there, buddy?
Yeah, just clearing the whole left side. Slowly.
Like I might be shooting, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're shooting.
They usually go shooting. Oh, you got some holes.
Oh, man. There you go. Nice. Whoa.
Whoa. I didn't even see that guy there.
Yeah, he's back here. We got him.
What?
Oh man,
there's like all the blood trails around. Scott's been rocking around.
I'm hurting too. I'm bleeding a little bit.
Hey. Oh,
Nice, we did it. All right, so we gotta get downstairs and get that health pack. Come on, Scott.
Yeah. I'm coming.
Oh man, look at the trail you're leaving.
No,
Nothing in there. Okay.
Oh, this guy's fighting me?
Oh.
I got this guy.
Show me your hand. Put him up.
I got another one over here too.
Give me a second, guys. Oh, this
Not
guy
today.
beat. Yeah, this guy
Yeah,
beat up.
You good, Corey?
I'm alive, but just barely. I'm like Scott now.
Oh no! Oh, Scott died.
Ah, man.
I was too busy getting this guy, and then that guy came around. I had him though; he was okay. Oh man! Is there anybody else up here? Oh, Corey! Oh, there's two. There's two of them here.
You just, yeah, I love how you guys got.
Oh man!
That guy got in the way.
I love how you guys clamor over.
You gotta
each
get that
other.
guy.
I got him.
You,
Man.
like, clamor over each other, trying to like get out. Like, it's great.
There we go. Okay.
Alright.
Let's go. The door?
No, it wouldn't let me. Because it like opened opposite way.
Police, on your knees. Hands in the air.
Oh!
On your knees.
Oh!
Let me see your hands. Squat where you are. Squat.
Oh man.
They're in the way.
No! I'm stuck.
Oh man. Let's go up to the next. Oh, there's already. If you can arrest him, arrest him. Oh, nice.
We're still good, Corey.
I know, man.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys are great. It's great. Good job, guys.
You there for support, Scott?
I
got somebody over here.
The smiling ghost. Oh, two.
Oh no. He's
Oh
dead.
yeah, throw that flashbang.
No, don't do that.
Put him up. Put him up. Get down. Police. Let me see your hands.
There's the health right here.
Oh man, I'm hurting again.
Oh yeah, there's health.
There's health right here on me,
Oh,
Drew.
thank God. Okay, I'm coming. I'm still coming. It's whoa. There's somebody over there?
Yeah, he's unarmed.
That's the person we gotta. Yeah, the person.
Oh,
we gotta
okay.
Rescue.
Nice.
One more floor to go, man. Let's go.
All I got is a handgun, so.
Oh, you're out of ammo?
I'm out of ammo.
Walking in here.
Oh, you're gonna flash. Okay, I'm looking the other way.
Nope, don't have any flashes left. Okay, this guy's gonna be coming around the corner. He's got a shotty, I think.
Oh yeah.
There's two of them.
Pitch it through two windows.
Nope.
Nope. He's shooting through the window.
Oh, there's more than one window. They're all windows.
Oh, there they go. There they go.
I can't break through that window. Oh.
He's lost us. Oh, he got his fight back.
Oh my God, he's back. Corey, no. Nice.
Oh,
that was close.
There's guys on the left.
Like an action hero.
Watch out for the room on the right.
Nice.
Last time guy came in on the right and wasted me. Haha, yeah.
All right, there you go. That was That was tense.
Intense.
Scouting under door.
Oh, it doesn't show anything there. That's not good.
Contact.
Okay, oh, there's 3 guys in here. If you got a flashbang, that'd be great.
Yeah, I got one. If you
Okay, I'm gonna open the door in 3, 2, 1, go.
There we go. Nice. Oh, I'm just hopping over stuff here. Apparently. Cool. There we go. Nice. We just gotta do the upstairs?
Oh, there's a room right here, actually. Check.
Looking under the door. Civilian
Yep.
spotted. Put him up. Stop. That's where you are. Stop. Don't move.
Oh, watch this guy. Watch this guy.
Alright, we're good.
Dodged a bullet. Like, literally dodged a bullet.
Wow. That was close. Alright, there we go.
Get down. Just free. Free. What? Free. Hands in the air. Show me your hands.
Okay, there's one.
Evidence secured.
Alright. Oh, that's it. Well, Nate, reviews, VR, all kinds of news. Another great episode, buddy. Now, each and every week, you guys hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca, where there you submit your clip so we can feature you on our show. Who we got this week?
This week we got Green Wolf Guts with a little bit of a funny play in Halo Master Chief Collection.
Nice, checking out a classic. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next week, Inside the Game.
Fire pods 1 through 12. Archers away.
Dude, I didn't even see you there.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m., it's the RTV quiz. Giovanni Petiti hosts a weekly trivia competition that lets you play from the comfort of your couch. Play along at home and challenge your friends. And don't forget to follow along on social media. Let us know who's top of trivia, and you can find yourself featured on a future episode.
Are you kidding me, folks?
The RTV quiz, Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. on Rogers TV or at rogerstv.com/RTV quiz.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
This is Rogers TV.
My name is Teresa Mclennan. I'm the Executive Director of the Women and Children's Shelter here in Barrie. And many of you know that we are a facility that supports women who've experienced violence and their children. And so while we always deal with trauma and the experiences of abused women, the situation for women is very heightened right now in light of what's happening with COVID-19. And so what we know is that as women are isolated at home, and stress within the family increases, the intensity and the experience of violence for women increases. And so our work is always very difficult, always very challenging because we deal with trauma. but that is much more heightened now considering the climate that we're all in with COVID-19. So even though we are limited in being able to bring women into our shelter right now in light of COVID-19, our crisis line operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So at any time, even with COVID-19, we encourage any woman who is at risk of abuse, who's been living in abuse, to call our crisis line. And that number is 728-2544. And when a woman contacts us and she's explaining what's happening to her and her children, we will help them to safety plan what measures they can put in place to keep themselves safe while they're at home, what measures they can put in place to keep their children safe while they are not in school and not going out and visiting with friends. And we are working with women to create a safety plan for them to be able to leave. What we know is that when women leave and plan to leave an abusive relationship, that is when they are most at risk of being killed. Our work is to help women do that as safely as possible. So we have certain tricks and tools, I would say, that we educate women about that they can do that will help them to create that safety plan so that they're able to leave. Or they're able to remain in the situation if they have to right now, and how do you create safety around that? So certainly we want women to call our crisis line so we can give them that information. It isn't something that we speak about publicly because we never want to inform abusers of some of the things that women may be doing to create safety around themselves. We are experiencing a greater intensity. That's the best way for me to describe that. A greater intensity in the nature of the calls that we're receiving. And again, that is because of that social isolation that's happening for women who are needing to be at home with their children, with their abusers. So the definitely nature of the calls are very intense, extremely serious, and in terms of the increase in calls, we are experiencing a high level of calls, as we always do. So, the situation for us feels very much like what we always have because there's such a great need for our services in the community. And, we're always trying to get a handle on that. COVID-19 definitely adds another layer of the stress to those demands for our service. Moving forward, as we hopefully start to see sooner than later, that curve of COVID-19 start to level out, we will need to reassess the safety of bringing more women and kids back into the shelter and making sure that we are continuing the screening so that we can provide safety for everyone, for the women, the kids, and our staff. And it's probably helpful for our community to know that we have a full house of women and kids in the shelter, but we've also had to look at community accommodations, housing options for women and kids as well. So we actually have moved women out of the shelter into other locations, and we're now providing support to them as well. And we are needing to financially pay for the housing that they are in. So, dealing with COVID-19 for everyone in the community is challenging. People's incomes are all impacted. Health-wise, we're impacted. For us as a shelter, the financial ramifications of COVID-19 are massive. We have to fundraise so much money every year, and just to keep the lights on, we are not able to do the same level of fundraising now in light of COVID-19. So we're not seeing that same financial support come in that helps us to do our work. And now we have women and kids in shelter, women and kids out of shelter that we need to provide everything for. So we're paying for them to be housed in another location. We're paying for their food, their transportation, everything that they need. So our financial demands are greater with less fundraising opportunities to meet the demand. So we are in a very, very challenging spot financially for sure, as are all social service agencies that rely so heavily on fundraising. We're all in this place of trying to keep the lights on. Absolutely, financial support is key for us to continue to meet the demand that we're always experiencing, but in light of COVID-19, that increased demand of service. We are very appreciative that restaurants are reaching out and saying, can we provide a meal for your women and kids? That really helps us because we're not able to get the maybe the same degree of groceries that we typically would because we have to order for so many. So restaurants that are helping us with bringing in food and dropping it off at our door, fantastic. Many people are also dropping off just groceries, and so we really appreciate that as well. We would ask that if you would like to donate or to help us, to contact Kelly at berryshelter.com, because that way we can talk about what you feel you'd like to donate and how the best way to do that is. We're wanting to be very mindful and cautious about how we are processing any donations that come to our door. So cleaning the packages that food is donated in, cleaning the bags that groceries may come in. We need to make sure that we are following our protocols and our practices to make sure that anything comes in also is clean and ready to go. And that's just a good measure for all of us in the community to be doing. So when you're going out grocery shopping for your own personal needs, when you're bringing in your packages, you're cleaning them and doing what you need to do. That is no different for us here. We just need to try and maintain a very, very high, hyper-vigilant level of cleaning. So any donations, we really appreciate that. It's truly helping us survive right now. And you can reach out to Kelly, that's Kelly, at berryshelter.com. And you can connect with her, talk about your donation, and then we'll coordinate how we can either pick up that donation in a safe way or that you can drop the donation off to us. So we really appreciate and thank the community for just being so fantastic in helping us. You can also visit our website at berryshelter.com, and there's information there how you can make financial donations. There's contact numbers as well, and that's a great resource just for anyone in our community to go to. We also encourage any women that may be listening. Our website is a great resource in terms of resources for leaving abuse and what you need to know to be safe. So please visit our website at berryshelter.com. We really encourage that.
We've made a couple of changes here. We have closed our morning drop-in program. We just want to ensure that people are safe, so we don't want people coming into that program. That's closed for the foreseeable future. And then we've also made some significant changes in our grocery program, and that we've gone to an expedited process, basically 3 minutes. 2 people come into the food bank at a time. They register in. We give them a little pickup slip. They go to our pickup door. They get a prepackaged grocery order, which should do them about 3 weeks. So it includes meat and vegetables, fresh produce, along with all of the various dry products and canned products and breads. So trying to feed as many people as we can and provide as much food as we can during this period. In the last couple of days, we've seen about 40 new clients who have never used our service before. And so I'm sure we're starting to feel the effects of businesses that have had to close for various COVID-19 reasons, and so some people are living on the edge, right? Paycheck to paycheck. And so if you take away that paycheck, we've got people who are in need of food right away. So we've seen about almost 40, a little more than 40, and I anticipate in the months to come that those numbers will grow pretty rapidly. What I'm really looking for right now from the community is I'm not looking for food donations from individuals or I'll call them personal food donations. I'm looking for businesses that have access to food and they would like to make a corporate donation to the food bank of food. That would be fantastic. From individuals, I'd like you to go online to our website, berryfoodbank.org, make a donation, and that will allow us to purchase food locally from local grocery stores to buy the food that we actually need right now to feed those people who are in need. I'm anticipating that we're going to see a 15% increase in our demand over the next few months, and we're in a pretty good position to be able to handle that. But if we could raise a couple $100,000 in the next couple of months, that would make a huge difference to the people that are coming to the food bank. It is also safer for everyone. We're supposed to stay home. Some of us are essential services, the food bank being an essential service. We need to be here to feed those people who are in need. And so we want to ensure that we have the food to be able to do that. Your donations make a huge difference for us to be able to call up Joe's No Frills, call up one of the other grocery stores, pick up the product right from their store, right here. It's on a pallet. There's not a lot of handling of the food. And so we know it's safe and we can give that out to our clients right away. For all of our clients right now, we've really expedited the process. We're ensuring that people follow the social distancing protocols. We don't want people lining up ahead of time. Because the process is so quick, there's no need for anybody to line up. Literally, you are here for 3 minutes. And so you can come anytime between 1 and 3:30. And like I've said, in the last few days, in the last 4, 5 serving days, we've served 450 people. So 450 orders have gone out. And a lot of times it's not a lot of work. The work for us is ahead of time, preparing them. The actual distribution is very simple. And so you don't need to line up, bring an ID, don't practice social distancing, and if you have any symptoms, call us. We have a couple of organizations that we can work with to deliver those grocery orders to you. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoon, from 1 until 3:30 in the afternoon, we'll continue to do our grocery orders. I don't get this opportunity often enough just to say thank you. And so thank you to all of you who are making donations online, businesses who are making, today we had farmers come in and make donation of potatoes. We had different companies dropping off food for us. So thank you for making a difference in the lives of people that you will never get the opportunity to meet, but you are certainly changing those people's lives.
Well, in the initial stages, we did see an increase in appointment cancellations, both for individuals and groups. Once everybody sort of locked down at home, that was just the scenario. People were not coming out. And so imagine, if you will, that we rely on a lot of group donations to help fill our clinics on a regular basis. And whether that be a corporate group, which is now working from home, or a school group, which of course is not in session. So that was very worrying in the beginning. We have, since the call to action that we placed on the middle of March, we have seen an increase in bookings, which is fantastic. But we've also now are dealing with the reality that, outside of places like Barrie, where we have a permanent donor center, we call it a mobile event, where we, sort of come into town and set up at a community center, or maybe it's a church or even a hotel or something like that. We were finding that in the initial stages, once the municipalities closed all their facilities, we were left to cancel a lot of events, and that certainly impacted us greatly. Our donor centers are a safe place to be. And really, if you think about of all the branches of the healthcare system, we are generally where the healthy people hang out. So we only accept blood donations from healthy people. And if you've ever been to a blood donor clinic, you know that we ask an awful lot of questions. And certainly this is no exception. We have put some additional screening measures into place to help screen people, and those physical distancing measures are certainly in place as well at all of our donor centers, whether it be our permanent center in Barrie or our mobile events. You will find that we have spread everything out to make sure that all the stations are well spread out apart, so you will not be shoulder to shoulder, with your fellow donors as you once experienced. So what this is, resulting in for us is sometimes a limited, reduced capacity of how many people we can intake because of these physical distancing measures. So we're doing, our very best to collect every drop of blood that we can because it is critical at this time that we still maintain a healthy inventory for those patients who need it. Well, I don't know that people aren't showing up because of a fear, but rather just the sheer fact that everybody's having to work from home now. They're taking care of their kids. It's a different world, and it's very difficult to manage. So again, just knowing that it's just only those healthy people that are able to donate blood. We encourage them to keep booking and honoring those appointments in the weeks and months to come, because it is a bit of a marathon, not a sprint, and we are going to need that blood on an ongoing basis. So in my experience, and I have been out at many of the events over the last week and a half, and what I see is a bit of a sigh of relief, I think, from donors when they come in and they see that we have put these measures into place with regards to physical distancing, because again, many are regular donors and they're used to being, lined up in chairs, waiting for their appointment and being in a tight space. So we have put those measures into place, and when they do arrive and see that, we are getting a sense of like, oh, okay, good. I was wondering what you were going to do about that, and I'm glad to see. And we're even seeing a lot of, posts on social media where people are commending us about our distancing measures as well. It is true. A blood donation would certainly help with that feeling of, I guess I'll call it helplessness, that we all experience when the unknown happens, and it's just a whole new world for us right now, and we're all coping, and that is certainly, a blood donation can certainly make you feel that sense of that you are giving back. So it's wonderful to see all the new donors, first-time donors, and what I like to call first time in a long time. So people who have maybe, donated in years past, but have sort of fallen off the wagon, if you will, and are coming back now and realizing that, yes, this is something I can do, and it's not a great deal of time commitment. And certainly we all seem to have some extra time on our hands. So it's a great thing to do. Well, what I would like to point out for sure, and especially if you've never donated before, or if it's been a long time, and even if you are a regular donor, I would like to point out a section on our website. If you just go to blood.ca, it's there right on our homepage, a whole section on COVID-19. And it's very important because it's all the questions and answers that we've been getting from donors as it relates to blood donation, how it affects a blood donation, what measures are we putting into place. And that is a perfect spot to go to if you're thinking about donating or if you have any questions at all. So, our website's always been where there's a great eligibility information, and now it's sort of contained in one easy to find spot right there as soon as you go to blood.ca. So I would encourage you to check that out. And then the other thing I will mention is that because of all the physical distancing measures we've put into place, at this time, we can only welcome donors who have an appointment. And it's important to come only at your appointment time. So we're not taking walk-ins right now. It's just very important for us to be able to maintain that metered dosage of people into the facility, that everyone has an appointment.
Traditionally, our model for food distribution would be providing members with the opportunity to come in. We have a quick meeting with them to just kind of put them into our system, and then allow them to essentially pick the items that they want. And so it was an interactive moment where they would be able to make sure that they're getting the items that they can eat. They don't have any dietary restrictions, cultural restrictions, all those types of things. And so there's a lot of interaction. And we realized, obviously, with COVID-19, we needed to be able to create a solution that minimizes the contact, surface contact, and potential interaction to minimize the spread of COVID-19. And so our first attempt was, okay, let's do it outside. Let's have a distribution method where we pre-pack hampers and then provide our members the opportunity to still come to our facility and pick up orders for home. But unfortunately, we had to. We had a big lineup. We had about 50 people queue up, and it was just way too much of a line, and we were obviously having trouble managing social distancing, and we realized that wasn't going to work. And so we decided to make the call on last week Friday, to go strictly to delivery service only, and transition over to where people call in, and they're able to call in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 11:30 to 2:30. They can call into our facility and make orders, and then we will distribute those orders the next day via a team of volunteer drivers. And essentially, we've had to screen all our volunteers and make sure that they are healthy, have not been outside the country in 14 days, under the age of 70, do not have any pre-existing health conditions that might put them at risk for COVID-19, and also themselves are making sure that they're self-isolating at home, so they're at low risk. We have tight guidelines as far as sanitization inside our facility, hand washing every 30 minutes, social distancing at all time, and are really locking down the safety measures within our facility to ensure the food that we're distributing is also safe. And so we're keeping our members safe as far as making sure that we're able to continue to deliver food. We know the volume is going to be increasing over the next few weeks, months, due to the number of layoffs that our region and regions have received recently. So we want to build ourselves capacity to continue doing what we do 4 days a week and not slow down. And so we wanted to protect our members, our staff, our volunteers, and making sure that everyone feels safe, but we're continuing to support our member base. Like, it's pretty strong in Orillia. We've got over 12% of our community's food insecure. We have one of the higher low-income rates in our region, and so the demand is quite high. We see over 1,700 people per month through our facility, and we know that will grow in the coming weeks and months. We're asking the community to make financial donations. There's two core ways that can happen. One is if you visit our website at sharingplaceaurelia.org, and you click on the Donate Now button. We have a secure site that you can make credit card or debit card donations online. And then the second method would be to send a check to our P.O. box in Orillia, and all that is available online as well. And people can mail the check to our facility or to our P.O. box, and then we can take those donations. And those donations are essentially buying exactly what we need for our food hampers. So we have all these prepackaged hampers that we're going to be distributing, and we know exactly what's needed to fill those hampers. And so if we get financial donations, we can purchase those either from our local grocery stores or from wholesalers, and have those items come in and get packaged up and out the door. And so it's much more efficient. There are so many people in our community that are the working poor, and they're working really hard, but essentially the minimum wage is not high enough to sustain life's necessities. And there's no shame in accessing food support that's available throughout your community. It's almost a necessity of the time. And so we have many members that are working hard every day at hourly wage jobs that have families and have expenses that go beyond what they can afford. And we're here to be able to support those people. And specifically during these times, we're here to support those that just do not have enough income to be able to get food. We need food, and it's the reason we're here is to support those people. So if there's anyone out there that feels that they don't want to access a food bank because they might be too proud, I would say that I understand that, but I would say that there is no shame in reaching out. Like that's what we do every day. And so we're more than happy to help people, more than happy to help people, and we can do so with the most amount of dignity and respect. We have a great group of people, no judgment at the Sharing Place at all. We welcome anyone that self-identifies as being food insecure or has trouble affording food throughout the month, and give us a call. Any new members do have to come to our facility to register. So that's the one thing that is required. They do need to come with a government-issued ID, so we can quickly register them outside our facility. And I guess weather permitting, just dress appropriately because it would be outside. But just definitely swing by our place at 95 Dufferin Street, register, and we'd be happy to help you out.
Well, obviously, we can't provide our programs and services in person as much as our entire clubhouse and structure is set up to be able to deliver things in a very confidential, very warm, very nurturing environment. We're forced into phone calls, emails, and utilizing Zoom conferencing. For a lot of our people, technology sometimes can be a bit of a hurdle. But whatever we can do, we're trying to do to be able to reach and deliver programs that are specific to our cancer community to our membership. And it's hard to be able to get just that little message into people with this huge issue that we're having to deal with as a society. But it's very important to our members to continue delivering those components of support. I think we're fortunate to have a namesake in Gilda Radner. She wrote a book, It's Always Something, and we've created It's an Always Something Fund. And if this isn't a time and a place to be able to utilize that under these circumstances, I'm not sure what it would have been used for. You always look to be able to make sure you're prepared for some of those unseen hurdles, some of those obstacles that come into play. This is one of the obstacles and hurdles of a lifetime. We've never seen this before, and hopefully we'll never see it again. But the opportunity for us to be able to try to find a way to stay viable and open for our membership, we explore a number of opportunities. There's new government programs that are announced all the time, but we live with donor dollars and on the support of very generous people in our community. So to let people know that we're still able to deliver programs and services under these times, and that there's sunnier days ahead. We're going to be open, and we're going to need people's help when that day comes. So, for myself and for a number of other charities, it's a matter of making sure that we get out there and are available to answer anyone's questions. I certainly think in situations like this, the saying "any port in a storm" works. We find any way possible to deal with the added stress that is imposed, but. We have masters of social work and registered social workers as part of our staff team available through phone, through email, and through the programs we're trying to offer online to help provide people with tools on how to cope with their cancer diagnosis. Certainly as this is such a dynamic and volatile situation where information seems to be changing at times hourly. We always look to be able to maintain a balance of, that future cancer landscape in the immediate concern of a deadly virus. And our community of membership is immunocompromised if they're going through treatments. They've always been much more aware of the dangers and the landscape that exists for them. So I think that, hand washing, not communicating people when you're sick has been much